Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. We are very proud and pleased to be part of the Variety Sports Network. And, of course, the show originates from the Bradshaw Bourbon Studio. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As always, Pittsburgh Steelers have made it into the 2023 postseason via their 17-10 win over the Baltimore Ravens, coupled with a victory from Tennessee over Jacksonville. I don't know if you believe in terrible towel curses, but the Jaguars certainly should. Lots to discuss tonight for sure. And I'm just going to get it started right away here. I have a question. Ian,
where the fuck is Ian?
Yeah. That's my first question. He gloated about an hour ago saying all the kids were in bed and he was ready to go, and now he's not even here. So I don't know what the hell that's all about. In any case, quick shout out to our buddy Aaron. His son has been dealing with some just awful medical stuff, and if any of you are parents out there, you know how awful it is to see your child in pain and not be able to do much about it. But we're very happy to report things are going better, and he's That's home. Great. So yeah, really, really good to hear that. So welcome in everybody once again, and thanks for watching. Thanks for listening on your own time. And you know what? Why is it, Ben Anderson, that there are people within the so-called Steelers Nation that I think are upset that the Steelers made the playoffs?
Because they're haters like you and Scarves that wanted Tomlin fired.
Never said that.
All right.
No one ever said that.
Sometimes on this show, we exaggerate for effect, okay? But seriously, there are people that really wanted to be right, that this is going to be Tomlin's first year with a losing season. There were people that were excited when they lost to the Colts. They were like, yep, this is going to be it. It's finally going to happen. They're finally going to have I can't wait for loss number 9 so I can say, I told you so after 17 seasons. I don't get it either, man. I don't understand people that are pissed off that Mason Rudolph is playing well. I don't think he's good either. That doesn't mean I'm angry that he's playing well. I mean, come on. How can you, I don't get it. There are people that were pissed off when Kenny played well, versus the fucking Bengals. People are weird, man. Some people are just fucking miserable. I'm sorry for using the F-bombs so many times already when we just started, but yeah, that's what it is.
It is just amazing to me. The people that are just bummed because, as you said, they can't talk about Tomlin having a losing season finally, or if they have accepted we're in the playoffs, the first thing they want to say is, oh man, I can't wait for us to lose again because that'll be typical Tomlin and everything else. Okay, fine. If that's your narrative, then you be you. But it has just struck me as absolutely ridiculous this week.
Go be a Browns fan or something.
Yeah.
How do they've had misery there for decades. They're used to it.
I want to. It's funny you mentioned the Browns. Last week, the Lions had their home finale, and a lot of Lions fans around me here, and they hoisted their NFC North banner, and I said, that's great, that's awesome for you guys, and I said we don't do that, and he's like, what do you mean you don't do that? I said we just don't do that. I mean, you go inside Acrisure Stadium, the only sign of Super Bowls is some flags at the far end.
Heinz.
We don't go crazy for that. It's sure great hall, yeah, it's everywhere, but and it's just the different fan bases. Everybody has different expectations.
Okay,
but when I see us acting this way, it drives me insane.
In context, the Lions waited for a long, long, long time to have a winner.
Yep.
Long time. And if they want to give their fan base something to be excited about, I won't begrudge them that.
No, and I don't begrudge them at all. I just think they didn't realize that our fan base doesn't celebrate things like that. like
I mean, it's nice to have a home playoff game. That's nice.
That would be great. It would
great.
be fantastic. But I don't know. I just find it fascinating. In any case, Ian, welcome aboard. We expected you to be like the first one on here, and you're the last one.
Yeah.
I take it one of the children woke up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they were all asleep, and then they weren't. So that's how it goes.
It's like they knew it was podcast night.
Yeah.
Never fails.
Isn't your oldest allowed to stay up this late? No. Oh,
if he's going to keep doing these shows, he's got to keep every one of these kids in bed by 9.
Yeah, no, like 9 o'clock at the latest.
Okay.
All right, guys. The Steelers beat Baltimore, and I know it was Baltimore backups in some cases, and then of course it was also in a monsoon and everything else. Scarps, what's your takeaway from what you saw Sunday, just in terms of getting the job done? What they need to work on, what they did well, so on.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It was not. Obviously, the Ravens weren't at full strength. They sat some guys, and on the very first play of the game, Najee almost dropped the ball. And like, how many times throughout the day did somebody almost drop the ball? So it was like, they did what they needed to do to win. Good for them. There wasn't, the thing that stood out to me is Mason having the stones to throw that ball, the second one to DJ, and
that was nice.
And it was just a nice throw, and
it was.
And I don't think Mitch or Kenny would have made that throw.
I don't know that they would have pulled the trigger either. I agree with you, man.
Yeah.
And if you look at the play, like Mason had Allen Robinson wide open for an easy first down, and he was just standing there. And I firmly believe that he saw Allen Robinson and was like, "Fuck this! I'm just gonna let it rip," and he did. And even that deep ball to DJ on the play where it looked like it landed right in front of him, and he did try, and then got
weird,
and then got penalized because he didn't get off the field in time. But it was a monsoon. Mason had some fumble issues, but I mean, I don't know what the hell that play calling was at the end of the first half. Like he was getting pressured on every play, and they just kept telling him to throw the ball, like whatever. But hey, man, 18-20 set the single game percentage record for the Steelers in a monsoon. Pickett and Mitch had every opportunity to do the same thing, and they didn't do it. Ben Roethlisberger never even had, even in later in his career when he was just doing check downs and whatnot and short passes, never did it. So, once again, Mason played well, had a 112 rating, 3 straight games, and 0 interceptions. Only Ben has done that in team history. But I still think, and we'll talk about this later, but I still think the defense struggled at times, and that's with TJ Watt for most of the game. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll get into that as well.
I think I just want to make one quick point. I think, in fairness, a lot of guys were having trouble holding on to the ball because it was so damn slippery. In total, there were 4 turnovers, but there were 6 fumbles and numerous balls dropped. We got lucky.
Right.
We got luckier than they did. I'm going to be honest. They had some drops that I was like, wow. But at the same time, it was like, Jesus, the conditions they're playing in.
And
how do you blame anybody?
And the Jag. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I had a question for you, but go ahead. Finish.
No, and the Jagos on Twitter that hate Mason were like, "Oh, he needs to hold on to the ball." Are you going to fucking tell Jalen Warren that? Because I mean,
right? Exactly. Exactly.
Yep. Can't have it both ways.
Everybody was having a problem
of Warren.
And everybody on both teams were having problems hanging onto the ball. So it wasn't just Mason.
No. Ian, I know you wanted to address something that Melvin had said.
I have a point to what Melvin said, but I had a question for Ryan since he's not drinking in January and his Steelers Rain Man abilities are like through the roof. Didn't Ben have a game early in his career where he was like 15 of 17 or something like that? Like I know Mason 90% being, 18 of 20 was the record, but I could have sworn Ben had a game like within the first couple years of his career where he only had like 2 or 3 incompletions. but he didn't throw 20 passes.
Well, Mason set the record for 15 attempts too.
Okay.
So I set it at 20, but if you even lowered it to 15, Mason still has the record.
Has it.
I think.
Yeah,
I Tom Zach was the one that had it.
Interesting.
With
Okay, I seem to remember something like that too, Ian.
But Ian, Ben definitely did, and I'm pretty sure it was against the Dolphins, but it wasn't. I think it was like 85 or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I thought there was some game early in his career where he was like 16 of 19 or 15 of 17 or something where he only had like a handful of incompletions. But at any rate, to a point that Melvin made in the chat a little bit ago about the majority of our fan base is spoiled. Mark put it up on the screen before too. I think, there we go. Found it again. This is a really good point and something I've been thinking about, like, generationally speaking, right? The people that experienced the 70s Steelers, pretty much all of them had experienced the bad times that came before the 70s. And then, the people experiencing the 80s were like, yeah, the 70s were good, and now we're into the 80s. Ryan and my generation growing up in the 90s, it was kind of like we hadn't experienced a Super Bowl of our own till the early 2000s, till the mid 2000s. And so we kind of knew some struggles. And then the older generations had either been old enough to remember before the 70s or had experienced the 80s. So like everyone of mine and Ryan's generation had kind of experienced some kind of downtime before we won a Super Bowl and we're competitive. And I've said this on this show, I've said this on Twitter, but you can really tell the people who never saw Kent Graham play quarterback. Like the people who spent their entire lives with Ben Roethlisberger as the Steelers quarterback have no idea what it means to suck. Those are the people that thought 9-6-1 was rock bottom that year in 2018. And it's like, you guys haven't seen anything yet. And we've kind of pulled it out of our ass the last couple years, in the post Roethlisberger era, but still there's definitely a generational divide between the people who have only experienced Roethlisberger and everybody else.
It's absolutely accurate.
Real quickly, I just want to make this point that Mark and I are old, but we were kids when this happened, but we both saw Cliff Stout and Mark Malone play. You want to talk about some shit. And I know, Ian, you saw Bubby play, but you were a kid. But that dude, you could see him beginning to self-destruct. And when he did, he was horrible. Before that, he was great. As long as he could maintain his composure, he was money. But he would start to lose his shit as he was walking in. I remember one game, he's walking into the locker room, yelling at the ref as the half ended. And I was like, oh, fuck, we're screwed. We just lost. They're like, there's a whole half of football left. No, Bubby's losing it. We're done. And sure as shit, he came out and he had a horrible second half. And I was just like, dude, this guy.
You really could see it on his face. It was just like, it was like, remember the old 70s version of the Incredible Hulk, Bruce Banner, Bill Bixby was the actor, where you could just see it starting to happen. And it was like, oh shit, Bubby's lost, man. Bubby's lost. It was bad. Yeah. Man, good times for sure.
Yeah. Not really, especially the Mark Malone years.
Well, hey, he did have that mustache,
and he did take him to the playoffs once.
Yeah,
he did.
He did.
And he has anything, but they got there.
He has he definitely has like top 10 longest reception ever by a Steeler.
Is that Malcolm?
That is Malcolm. It's my mini me. He was
okay. He can't hear us, right?
No,
that's Malcolm, a fellow Michigan fan, from what I hear.
Yes, he said he was rooting for Michigan because it started with an M like his name. So
see, that's the kind of simplistic thinking we need more of.
That's the kind of simplistic thinking that leads people to be Michigan fans.
Well, that's definitely true this day and age. What do you guys think the approach is going to be? And I know we'll bounce back to the quarterback stuff, but TJ Watt going down, man, that was just. I'm glad. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that's quote unquote all it was, because man,
grade 2 MCL sprain.
Yeah. I mean, it looked really. I was really afraid this was going to be something that was going to be much worse.
Initially I heard PCL is what they were afraid
that's what we were hearing.
And then they did the MRI and it was a grade 2 MCL sprain, which by definition, people need to realize is a torn ligament. It will heal.
Yeah.
But there's some rupturing in there, and it's not a complete tear or anything by that stretch. It's not a complete rupture, but there is some rupturing within the ligament that will need some time to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So even if, let's just say hypothetically, super hypothetically, that the Steelers got to the AFC Championship game, which is the first time that really Watt would be able to play.
He's playing.
He'd have to wear
man.
Yeah, okay. He's built different. I know. He'd have to wear a brace, and he wouldn't be as effective.
No.
He's not going to be. The thing that Watt has going for him is he's so fast off the line that offensive tackles can't get set.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they need help.
Right. So they're going to, obviously they're stuck going with kind of a 3-man rotation here with Highsmith and Golden and the rookie Nick Herbig. They did sign Paralis. Kid was with them in the preseason.
Oh, yeah, the preseason. Yeah,
he did a nice job, but he's not going to get a helmet this week.
You might they need somebody for teams.
Yeah, he could. I don't know.
I mean, you never know what Danny Smith is thinking. I mean,
no, you're right. I shouldn't just dismiss that.
Teams have been okay this year. I got to give Danny Smith some props, especially that's coaching where we get that ball last week. They take it all the way down to the 4. I'm going to butcher his name. Say the returner's last name.
Godwin Igwebuike.
Igwebuike? Yeah.
Igwebuike. Okay. He runs past the ball out of bounds, keeps his feet out of bounds, reaches over and touches the ball first.
Yeah.
That's coaching. Danny fucking Smith made that play. He taught him how to do it and said, when this happens, this is what you do. And then we'll get the ball at the 40.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think Danny Smith has had a pretty good year.
He has, man.
I mean,
he's not punting a football, thank God.
No.
But he'd probably do a better job.
You know what though? I don't think Presley Harvin loses his job this week, and I'll tell you why. He's an excellent holder.
Yes, I don't think he loses it this week either. Now
I just don't see it.
I
mean, it won't shock me if they don't dress both of them.
Mm-hmm.
That will not shock me because they're going to need some good punts. And if Presley's having a rough game, they may just have him hold and have Brad Wing come in and punt. Although Brad Wing's not a great punter either. So
no, he's ups and downs. Yeah.
To clarify Steelers Freak, I think Tomlin and Mora, the 7-year playoff drought, I think that's 7 years in between playoff wins. So Marvin Lewis never won a playoff game, so he's disqualified.
Gotcha. Okay. We're having some fun over in the chat, but yeah.
Did he never won one? I thought he won one.
No,
never?
No, he never won one.
No,
he was 0-7.
Wow.
You got to win one to have a drought.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Because you're the desert if you never win one. Speaking of coaches, let's talk a little bit about Mike Tomlin. Ian, what would you, if you're going to give him a grade this year, how would you grade his performance this season?
I'd say somewhere in the B minus kind of range. I mean, he kept the group together. They didn't fall apart after those 2 really bad losses, but those were 2 inexcusable losses. And, he's kind of found some gold with Mason Rudolph here. But if Mason Rudolph had this in the tank, why didn't we go to him sooner? And why didn't we kind of, know that he was capable of this? So it's not his best coaching performance, but I think it's, he did keep the group together. They got into the playoffs, and the players all credited him with, keeping the message the same and keeping them focused and on track. but it's been a mixed bag. Some of the stuff on defense, which is kind of his bailiwick, they had a lot of injuries, especially through the middle. So some of that stuff I'm willing to, give him a little bit of a pass on, because as we've talked about on the show before, there's only a certain number of injuries you can sustain at a given position in the NFL before you see a significant drop off. That number is usually 2 or 3, and we're down 5 inside linebackers,
Unbelievable.
and a couple safeties too. Like the whole middle of the defense, and Cam Hayward missed time. Like the whole middle of the defense is just decimated. So it's not surprising. Actually, I was surprised the Ravens didn't just come out and try and run it down our throats, especially in that weather. I was kind of like, why are they throwing the ball with a backup quarterback? Why aren't they running it up the middle every play? But hey,
well, they were trying to throw it short. They were trying to attack our linebackers, and it just didn't pan out. Yeah.
But still, they were putting the ball in the air in a monsoon. Oh, the other point I wanted to make, sorry, jumping back to something before about that Mason pass to Damontae. One of the things I think Mason mentioned in his post game was that play was coming out of the break between the third and the fourth quarter, so they had a dry ball, and that that made a big difference in being willing to make that throw with a dry ball versus one that had been out there in the soaking wet. In the monsoon, like we talked about, I think that made a difference with the game situation too. So
it's probably a lot lighter and a lot easier to throw. I mean,
it's grippier, it's easier to hold on to, it's not as soppy, and but overall I'd give Tomlin, I'd say in the B minus. I see some people in the chat saying C plus range. It's all kind of
it's relative depending on how you view certain things.
A passing grade, but not his best performance.
Yeah. Ben, how would you look at his overall performance this year? And granted, it's unfinished body of work yet.
I want to preface this by saying that this team is really mediocre to begin with. They're not. I don't know why people get the idea that this is a talent juggernaut. It isn't. You look at our last 7 or 8 drafts, other than 2017 and hopefully this year, knock on wood, those drafts were not great. They were not good drafts. And, if you'd hit on even half of the first rounders in those years, you'd have guys at key positions that were still contributing now. And we don't have those guys because those drafts were stinkers. So I think he's done a really good job. I think that Steelers fans have unrealistic expectations, that they watched the preseason and got all giddy and excited and decided this is a really good team, even though it was preseason and nobody was trying to win. Nobody was trying to, nobody was game planning. Nobody was doing anything. And it's not. Now, conversely, Tomlin, I don't care if Art didn't want to fire him anyway or not. I think that Tomlin allowing Matt Canada to start the year as the offensive coordinator is definitely a mark against him. I'm sorry. That guy was fucking awful. It was obvious last January they should have fired him. Tomlin should have insisted, put his foot down. This guy's got to go. Okay? I like I said, my understanding is that Art didn't want that to happen.
Right.
And regardless, Tomlin should have said, no, this guy's got to go. We've got to turn the corner here. We got to do something different. It's obvious that our young quarterback is going to have to learn a new offense anyway, and we may as well start that process now rather than waiting a year.
We talked about this, that if they don't do it going into this year, then it's going to push Kenny Pickett back perhaps another year, and that and that's exactly where we're at now.
That's kind of what's happened.
Yeah.
But he has managed to keep this team together through the injuries, as Ian talked about. We had injuries through the entire middle of the defense. I mean, seriously, signing linebackers off the street and starting them, signing safeties off the street and bringing guys off the practice squad and starting those guys because they were so desperate for talent in the middle of the field. That to me is ridiculous. And the fact that they still won 10 games to me is a testament to the fact that he kept them together. Yes, losing those games, especially the Cardinals game. I I thought they might lose to the Patriots because Belichick's so damn smart.
They've always had our number for whatever reason.
Well, it isn't just that. I mean, basically, you got to take away one thing, and he's going to take away George Pickens, and then he's going to say, okay, now I dare you to beat me with whatever you got left.
Yeah,
and we couldn't do it, and it came straight after our defense, which was hurt and not fired up. They weren't prepared for the game. I don't know. Mentally, they just weren't there. No. I don't think they believed in what they were being asked to do. And then, they got stomped by the Colts. That was embarrassing. But the Colts were a pretty good team, at least. Just emotionally, mentally, the team wasn't there those 3 weeks. Getting them to rebound from those last 3 games, that's fucking huge. So, in summary, I'm giving the guy a solid B. Okay. And I would probably give him an A- if it were not for Matt Canada. Allowing Matt Canada to come back is a mark against him. I don't care if his owner wanted to keep him or not.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, Scarps, how would you see the year of Mike Tomlin?
Man, I don't know. Ben just talked about winning those 3 straight just to even have a chance to get in.
Yeah.
But then you look at the 3 prior and you're just like, I mean, those were just bad. And, yeah, he's the head coach. Like, that counts against them. Like, they played Mitch Trubisky, who's fucking god awful. And Mitch, I don't even know why they signed Mitch. Like you can't tell me Tomlin didn't have a say in that, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody thought Mason was going to play as good as he has. Go ahead, Ben.
Mitch is great in practice, and Sean McDermott and Mike Tomlin are friends, and that's why they signed him. And
this is all McDermott's plan. He knew it. So,
but the William and Mary showdown this weekend.
That's right.
McDermott's 3-1 against Tomlin. So, if I gotta give Tomlin,
we're due.
If I gotta give Tomlin a grade, I'd go like B-. And this team isn't very good. They're not. They have a couple good players, but overall they're not good. And again, that's great that the last 3 weeks they rebounded, but how do you lose them the prior 3 weeks like that? Like, to me, that evens out. So,
Scarps, do you think if Mason Rudolph starts against Arizona, New England, and or Indianapolis, they're going to win 2 of those 3?
Well, scrap the Cardinals game because Lord Kenneth got hurt.
Right.
Came in. I get that.
Yeah, you're right. So let's scrap that one.
But that was a weird game with the multiple weather delays, and that was just
you're right,
bizarre.
Ian. That was that's the week it was ugliness there.
But yeah, Mason absolutely beats. You know what though? I can't.
That's like my dream job, man.
I can't say for sure because the defense got smashed. Like the Colts, they gave up 30 to the Colts. They gave up 3 touchdowns to Bailey Zappi. Like I don't know. I'd like to believe that they would win. They would have won one of those games with Mason. But they didn't. They're 10-7. They're not a very good team. So yeah, that is a testament to Tomlin keeping them together. But they've had some ugliness throughout the season, so that's why I give them a B-.
Yeah, I think those are fair grades. You can't look past some pretty bad losses, but you also can't ignore 3 straight wins to close out the season, considering you're on technically your 3rd quarterback.
2 of them on the road too, in pretty tough environments. Seattle's not easy to play in.
No.
And the other thing that we didn't mention, we went 5-1 in the division and swept the Ravens. The Ravens lost 4 games this year, and 2 of them were
2 of them us.
So,
we went 5-1 in the division, and we won 3 West Coast road trips.
Yeah.
When the fuck does that ever happen?
Think we were 13-4 or something?
Yeah, if I told you guys before the season that we were going to go 5-1 in the division and we were going to win 3 West Coast road trips, where would you put our record? 13 wins?
12 wins, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, at least. I mean,
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I did not see 5-1 in the division. I just didn't. And again, you can say what you want about the way Baltimore approached the final game, but hey, that was the choice of John Harbaugh, and we'll see if it works out for them. They're going to have 2 full weeks off. Those guys,
the guys who played for the Rats played hard. I'll give them props,
and you knew they would,
and gave them respect. And I get it. Their best guys weren't out there.
Hunter Queen was out there the whole game.
Yeah, he was.
Yep. He played.
Yep. Wasn't Roquan Smith out there the whole game too, or no?
I think
no, Roquan sat.
Yeah.
Roquan sat.
Matabike
didn't play.
Yeah.
Matabike is the one that
I thought he didn't play.
No, he's the one that got pancaked on the TV run by Samala.
That's right. Yeah.
Didn't play.
Yeah.
Sayamalu.
To Melvin's question about what if Mike Tomlin walks away, do we have time to talk about that this week?
We do, and Ian, let me preface really quickly. Right before we went on the air, I got a text from a buddy of mine, and it was it looked like a screenshot from Instagram, and I don't even know who it was. Apparently, the Alabama Crimson Tide have Mike Tomlin high on their list. You gotta love this shit. I mean, Mike Tomlin's high on everybody's list. Come on. Anyway, I digress.
They would have to offer him some insane amount of money. Like, why would you want to go from the NFL to dealing with 18-year-olds and their bullshit every day? Like,
instead of one George Pickens, you'd have 35 George Pickenses.
Yeah, and then you got the transfer portal. Kids can just leave whenever they want to. That's a big headache. But anyways, that aside, do we want to talk about the rumors that Tomlin might step away?
Absolutely. I mean, we'll dive more into him once the season is complete too, but we have time to do that tonight. Sure.
Yeah. I think, we've kind of talked about it a bit this year that he seemed a little different this year, like a little more off-putting with the media, a little more distant on some things. And I think my impression was just he seemed a little more annoyed overall with like questions from the media, especially in his press conferences. So I think there is a little bit of a different attitude that Tomlin has this year. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him walk away, but he's not getting fired. Like he's going to leave whenever he wants to, and it's going to be his choice.
Yes.
But it's his choice, and I wouldn't be shocked if it happens. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay, yeah, and just to remind everybody, he's got 1 year left in his deal. Typically, the Steelers like to extend at that point, and they didn't. And we don't know why. That could have been a Tomlin thing. That could have been a Steelers thing. We don't really know why. Ben, where do you fall right now on the Tomlin talk?
I think that a lot like Scarps, I think that he and his agent put that out there. And we talked about this over the summer when he didn't get an extension. We talked about it on this show.
Yep.
And basically the conversation was, what if Mike Tomlin uses the fact that players want to come play for him and that he is as popular as he is and can get a job and walk away and get, greater value from another team to leverage a more expensive contract extension from the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
What if?
Yeah.
And
can't rule that out at all.
I tend to wonder if that's what's going on here. I don't know. What I can tell you is Tomlin's seat is ice fucking cold. It was never even remotely warm. Not
even after the 3 losses.
Not even fucking lukewarm. And people that thought he was going to get fired are smoking that good shit. Not that crap we used to get in high school. The really good stuff. They're high as fuck.
Freak brings up an interesting point, and we kind of saw Bill Cowher go through this a little bit. He talks about the fact that Tomlin's daughter is a very good gymnast down in Georgia, and maybe he's at that point in his life where that's become a thing. He obviously, his sons played football and stuff, but these are things you can't rule out because you don't know the way that these guys are thinking at any point in their careers. If you would have told me a week ago Nick Saban was going to retire this year, I probably would have said, I don't see it. I think he's going to keep going another year or two, but it is what it is. So,
he said his age was becoming an issue and that his players were questioning how long he was going to stick around.
Saban.
Yeah.
And you could tell because people are already jumping in the portal.
Onto the portal, exactly. They lost
their commitments.
13 players. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and Melvin nails
Alabama?
it. Melvin just nailed it right here. He's not a fan of the NIL stuff. He's been very diplomatic about it, but he's not crazy about it. And I think that's exactly why Tomlin would never think of going to the college thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
like the kids will ask him about NIL stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't talk about that."
Right?
He's got some guy. You can go talk to him about it. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Anyway, we digress. But Scarps, you had brought that up, and Ben kind of already pointed that out, that you thought maybe just hanging out of that 1 year was some leverage to get a bigger deal.
Well, and I told you earlier, like Cam Hayward this week on his podcast was like, he said something effective like, I'm tired of like people making up rumors, whatever. And it's like, Cam, it came from Jay Glazer. Like him and Tomlin are tight. Like it's not like some random person like made this up. So
right.
They're like it's not like Scarps made it up. Like it's like Jay Glazer. Like it's a deal. So I don't know. I know Tomlin's a football junkie, and I don't see that. Yeah, I don't see him.
Well, do you remember what Glazer said? Maybe Tomlin will just take some time off.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, I don't see him stepping away permanently this early. But could he like do a Sean Payton thing and like step away for a year?
Well,
and then figure something out. Here's the, and this is, and I want to be clear about this. Like, I love Mike Tomlin. He was a mentor to me. Great dude.
Mm-hmm.
What you see in the press conferences is not who he is. But he has been, as Ian said, he has been more prickish this year in his press conferences.
Yeah.
He's
kind of been an asshole.
But I attribute that to, and I'm being real, I attribute that to them not falling short. And like you can acknowledge that they've been regular season champions for a long time now, and they just haven't done anything in the playoffs. And if they don't win on Sunday, it's going to be, we just talked about this earlier, 7 straight years without a playoff win. They haven't done
about Sunday
anything. Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there.
But I'm just saying that, like, so, maybe Tomlin looks at this and says, you know what, man, it's really hard not to win. It's really hard not to win with an amazing defense and a Hall of Fame quarterback. Maybe I need to take a year off and reassess what I'm doing. And I don't know. Like, I'm not saying, I think Tomlin is a great coach, but maybe that pressure of not winning is impacting. Because again, he might be floating it, for him and his agent might be floating out there.
Yeah.
But, I maybe he did tell Jay, like, Jay, man, this shit's hard, dude. I might need some time away.
It could have been something like that in passing, and of course Glazer ran with it. I would take all of us back to when Bill Cowher retired, or
that was
or
a kind of a surprise too.
It was, and I'm just going to ask all three of you guys this: Did any of you think that was the last time he would coach in the NFL?
No, everybody thought he'd come back in a couple of years. Yeah.
I didn't. I was stunned to realize now that he would never coach another game.
That's a great point.
I figured, okay, he's going to go do this TV thing for a year or two, and he's got the fire. He's a lifer. He'll go coach.
I honestly thought that was what his plan was.
Really?
And I think that he started into it, and he was like, I really like this. This job's fucking easy.
I'm sure that's how he got eventually. But
I work maybe 25, 30 hours a week. I make great money.
Oh yeah. But
shit, this is a great job.
I remember his presser, and he's wearing that Bill Cosby sweater, and I'm thinking,
oh my God, that was
this guy's gonna go coach somewhere. Can I still say Bill Cosby sweater, by the way? Is that still allowed?
Cosby sweater.
It looked like that.
Well,
It looked like that shitty rug your grandma had. You know?
You just don't let a guy wearing that sweater serve you a drink.
True that.
Yeah.
True that.
Beyond that, you're fine.
Yeah. As far as coming up this
that's
week,
bullshit. Mark is like 67.
Whoa. I have not started collecting Social Security
66.
just yet.
Sorry.
Or whatever it is, or Medicare. Sunday, the temperature right now is looking at about 22 degrees. They're talking pretty significant winds, maybe some light snow. But did I see gusts of wind that could be in the 40s or up to 50s? Okay, so if you're Chris Boswell, you might as well just pack like a big snowmobile suit and go sit in it, because the only time they're really going to need you is to try to kick off. Can you see scenarios where we just go for two?
I don't know about go for two, but I think the Boswell point's a well-made one, because that's what worries me about. Everybody on Twitter is talking about, if it's windy, Josh Allen might turn the ball over, or we might just run the ball the whole game. The kicking game is what worries me, though, because we don't have a very good punter, and Boswell has struggled with the wind before. I think was it the last game in Buffalo he missed 2 or 3 kicks that was really windy, or was that in Cincinnati? There was one game.
Was Buffalo.
I think it was Buffalo that his kicks started at the left upright and missed right because it was that windy. And I remember afterwards he just looked at it like, what the F just happened? I kicked it at that upright and I missed it on the other side. And I think it was Buffalo when we got beat 34-3 or something like that. But the other thing I'll mention, though, is those kind of games where you get those gusty winds, those are the ones where it really matters what direction you're going in the fourth quarter. And if you win the toss at the beginning of the game, you pick
the
field
direction
position, not the ball. Yes.
Yep.
I agree. That's a great point.
No, Ian's dead on. Yes.
I think didn't Belichick do that one year where he deferred to the second half and then the second half picked direction? So the other, he kicked off both halves.
Yes, he has done that.
Yeah.
Yep. And of course everybody thought he was nuts, and then realized, well, no, he's actually making kind of a smart move there. Based on the winds. We don't know, but clearly based on our experiences of seeing games up there, that's what happens. It gets cold, it gets windy, it gets snowy, and you better adjust to it. And I would love to be able to say that we're going to just run the ball every single play, but that's not realistic either. And as far as Allen, one of you guys mentioned in the chat when we played him most recently in that blowout game, he didn't throw the ball deep very often.
Yeah, he did.
Or he did.
First play was the Gabe Davis or
right. Okay.
98-yarder to Gabe Davis.
Yeah,
on third down.
Somebody said something in the chat this week about how he hadn't, maybe it was a game recently where he hardly threw the ball at all or didn't throw it much downfield. I can't remember, but look, he's been turning the ball over a ton, and it would be just like the Steelers' luck for him to go absolutely flawless in this one. But if
run
he
the
does,
ball on every play,
you've got to take advantage of these turnovers. You cannot try to kick field goals. You got to score touchdowns this week. It's the playoffs.
You know who worries me in this game is Dalton Kincaid, their tight end, who's
both
really
of those
good.
tight ends were.
Dawson Knox is good too, but Kincaid, that dude's a baller. And especially if Gabe Davis doesn't go, Stephon Diggs will probably draw 2 or 3 penalties on JPJ between DPI and holding because he's a really good receiver and JPJ's grabby, and it is what it is. But I think Kincaid can be the difference maker in this game, and we have to figure out a way to neutralize him.
And you figure they're probably going to look over the middle anyway.
Yeah,
as weak as we are there. Ben, do you see any situation where JPJ frustrates Stephon Diggs a little bit?
For sure, but
I think so.
Here's the bigger issue for the Bills passing game. The last time that the weather conditions were this bad, the longest air yards pass that Josh Allen completed was 6 yards.
Okay, that's the stat I saw earlier. Yeah. That's
6 yards.
Okay.
So this isn't going to be a deal where Diggs is running downfield and getting open and getting the ball, because it's going to be that difficult to get it to him. You've got just wind in the 20s, just in general, and then gusts coming up in the 50s. It's just not, even if Diggs is open, they're not going to be able to get him out there. Yeah,
you act like he's a one-trick pony. That dude's one of the best route runners in the league. They're gonna get him the ball, and Joey Porter Jr. is not gonna be able to do shit about it. Oh God, I'm being very nice about this. I've been nice all week about this, but we're gonna be real on the show. Stephon Diggs will get open.
Stephon Diggs will get open, but he's gonna get open. He's gonna get open in the flat, and this is my point. He will be open in the flat and get the ball in the flat, and he'll have fucking 6 guys in front of him trying to get past him. So it's not going to be as simple as Diggs one-on-one with a corner on the out or a corner and a safety. It's not going to be that easy. So even if he does get the ball there, which he will, he's not going to get a lot of yards. He's not going to get a lot of yak in this game. The team that runs the ball better this week will win this game.
I would think so.
You like what Dan just posted there? I thought that was pretty sweet. You know what it is, Dan?
About his mustache?
He's not drinking, Dan.
That's right.
Drinking, but
he's an angry, sober guy now.
He is. I'd like to call him an angry elf, but it doesn't really fit.
Angry elf.
I do like that Scarps is still rocking the Bass Pro Shops hat after what happened at the Bass Pro Shops in Alabama last week.
Well, we all know that was him.
Scarps was excited about that. He was like, that guy is my fucking role model.
Was that guy trying to catch like a fish or something?
Dang, man.
Did you see the full video? The guy jumped in there naked and did a cannonball.
Dang, man. Noah
Case. You gotta be shitting me.
Hey, if we win on Sunday, I want to see Ian and Scarps tandem cannonball into the Mon Sunday night. That's what I want to see.
That'd be comfortable.
Noah said I look like an Easter Island head without the mustache. Thanks, Noah. That was a good one.
That is pretty solid. Yeah. If Minkah and Kazee are back, Ian, what would you expect to see in the secondary?
I think Minkah and Kazee start, and Eric Rowe plays that sort of Keanu Neal fill-in position, which I think might actually suit his skill set pretty well. Actually, Rowe's been really impressive for a guy coming off the couch. I mean, I don't know if he's NFL starter caliber, but that dude can definitely get another contract as a backup somewhere.
I think he might be NFL starter caliber as a box safety only.
Yeah, he's got good instincts though. Like, he reads the pass really well. He's made some a couple interceptions and a couple near misses on interceptions that his ability to read the play and react is pretty darn good still.
If he still had quicks, he's 32. If he still had better, if he had a little bit better quicks,
he seems to always be a step late.
Yeah, if he had better quicks, he'd have a couple of picks. I agree with Ian 100%.
He's got like 2 or 3 picks already though.
No, he does. He's got a couple,
but he'd have more. Is my He'd have picks inside of 5 yards.
So do you think that they go with Kazee, Minkah a little bit deeper and then let Rowe run around a little bit more towards the box?
3? Does he have 2?
I think it's 2. I think.
I'd have to look. 1 actually. I thought he had 2, but it's just 1.
I thought he had 2 also.
2.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm curious to see what Teryl Austin comes up with those guys back. I'm obviously, as we talked about earlier, I'm curious to see how he rotates the outside backers. I think anyone expecting huge things from Nick Herbig, I think you got to temper that a little bit. Remember, he's made some really great plays, but he's also done that on a very limited amount of snaps too.
I think Nick Herbig on an obvious passing situation where he can just play the quarterback,
absolutely,
is going to be good. If he's got to play both the run and the pass,
that's my concern.
It's going to be a little more difficult.
That's what I'm thinking of. Freak is correct. Rowe punched the ball out, and against
the Ratbirds.
against the Rats.
Rowe has been a really pleasant addition. I mean, really.
For a guy off the couch, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And Miles Jack has been fine. He gets people where they're supposed to be. He's not a guy you're going to depend on in the future, but he's been
doesn't
fine.
Have the athleticism anymore.
No,
man.
it's not there anymore. And Michael Walker. I mean, who the hell thought we'd be playing Michael Walker at this point?
Yeah.
Speaking
of guys who are slow, that guy is so slow.
Yeah. What about blitzing Robinson? I thought that was kind of an interesting.
Yeah, that was nice.
I mean, if the guy can't cover, then shit, let him go blitz the quarterback.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think it's. I'd like to be clear though that like Baltimore's offense last week was dismal. Like they were terrible, and they still looked decent at times. Like it was,
their offensive line. I mean, obviously Zeitler didn't play. Geitler, whatever.
Zeitler didn't. They had a couple guys.
He didn't play. He's their best offensive lineman, but their offensive line was pretty good.
So I want to be clear about this because all week I just kept seeing Marcus Golden and Nick Herbig. Yes, Nate is on the line. Sorry. So Nick Herbig and Marcus Golden are going to ball out. You don't. Ian is my Lord of the Rings friend over there. One doesn't simply replace TJ Watt.
Yes.
And like this team has given up 40 points in 3 straight playoff games, and TJ and Cam started all 3 of those, and Minkah started 2 of those.
Yeah.
So TJ's not going to play. Okay. Hey, here's a Marcus Golden stat for you. I think he's a good player. I think he is a good depth piece, but for all the ball out crowd out there, Marcus Golden has 6.5 sacks in his last 1,000 snaps. So that averages to
how many does he have for this year for the Steelers?
So hold on. Can I finish my fucking point?
All right.
So Marcus Golden over the past 2 seasons has 6.5 sacks in 1,000 snaps, which is every 150 snaps he gets a sack. So unless the Steelers plan on playing 8 quarters in Buffalo, I'm not banking on him having a productive day. And Nick Herbig, yes, he has flashed at moments, and that's great and wonderful. But just because he went to Wisconsin and learned from TJ doesn't mean he's TJ.
Marcus Golden has 4 sacks for the Steelers this season. So I would argue that Golden has not been in a position to get sacks for most of those 1,000 snaps you just mentioned. And that may be by design.
Yeah.
And George, I'm a hater because I'm real. Like, come on, dude.
He hasn't played that many snaps for the Steelers this season.
No,
it doesn't matter. He has 6.5 sacks in his last 1,000 snaps. That's math.
How many does he have this season?
But
he has 4.
The question
he's got 4 this year for the Steelers. The way he's being used by the Steelers this year
in mop up scrub time
in this scheme.
The question is, though,
can
he produce this Sunday?
I don't know.
That's the question.
I like his physicality, especially in run defense.
He has one move.
Which is a bull rush. Which is the physicality. That's it. But
Jen, nothing is wrong with Wisconsin. It's a lovely state. Appreciate you, Jen.
Oh yeah, I didn't say I love Wisconsin. I'm just saying like.
No, he's talking shit about Wisconsin.
Oh, he hates Wisconsin. You should hear the way he talks.
I'm sober, and the truth hurts. You know what? the truth is oh God, you're gonna really hate my prediction too.
Well, the Steelers are 1-10 without TJ Watt in the starting line.
You guys already know my prediction.
It's no big deal. No big deal. Marcus Golden and Nick Herbig gonna ball out. It's gonna be unbelievable.
Here's the other thing too, though. Like against a quarterback like Josh Allen that will run power, right? Lamar Jackson doesn't run power. Lamar Jackson will run, but he doesn't run power, right? They will run power runs with Josh Allen with the running back or a fullback blocking for him. You almost need a linebacker to just spy Josh Allen. And some of what you're going to ask your outside linebackers to do in this game is kind of that Lamar Jackson game plan of we're just playing contain. We're not rushing the passer. we're making sure he doesn't get out and run for a big gain. So, some of it schematically too, against a guy like Josh Allen that has that elusiveness to him is, how you want to approach it, because, if you're going, 110% gung-ho to rush the passer, if you get pushed too far upfield, you're leaving a pretty wide fucking open running lane for Allen to run through behind you. So they got to be smart about how they do it.
How important of a game is this for Alex Highsmith?
Can I real quickly just interject one thing?
Yes.
Fuck you, Johnny. So,
yeah, how did I know
real quickly, Scarps, Marcus Golden has played 230 snaps this season, and he has 4 sacks in those 230 snaps. Okay? So the way he's being utilized in this defense this year by this team is netting sacks. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that. And also, fuck you, Johnny, again, for good measure.
Wonderful.
Oh boy, Freak had to get the Maylocks up. Boy, that's
the
very
670 snaps. 770 snaps he had before that. Whatever. I don't know who was using him. That was their thing.
So does Teryl Austin actually bring more blitzing this week, or does he sit back because of the threat of Josh Allen taking off and running? He's going to have to be very selective.
I think he sits back.
I do too, and it's going to drive people crazy at times.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably the way he's going to have to go. James Cook is a really nice running back. I don't think they used him nearly enough early in the year, and they seem to be using him a little bit more, which is a little scary.
Who else they have is Leonard Fournette, who somehow always plays good in the playoffs. Yeah, playoff Lenny.
And he flat out admitted it this week. Yeah. He's like, "What? I'm making $200,000, and I love it."
Latavius Murray has been good for them too this year.
They have. I didn't realize they had Leonard Fournette. That's actually not great.
They use him on the old tush push.
Not good news.
No. They also, by the way, have Tyler Matakevich, better known as Dirty Red.
Yeah, loved that guy.
Yeah, special teams demon for the Bills. Yeah. But he's no Miles Killebrew, I can tell you that right now. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Pro Bowler Miles Killebrew.
That's right. That's right.
He got 3 penalties in one game and still made the Pro Bowl.
That was like the perfect epitome of that game too. 3 penalties on the same guy. All on special teams.
Although he has 3 block kicks this year, so I should probably give him a pass for those penalties. But yeah,
right.
Do
they need to use Jaylen Warren a little more this week?
Boy,
I hope
Warren. He's their most explosive back, but he does not do well in bad conditions. Like his hands, even going back to his rookie year in the preseason, like Tomlin benched him in a preseason game for fumbling the ball. So, he's your most explosive guy, but he's also like questionable hands. So last week I was all for them just pounding Najee late in the game because Warren was,
I agree,
not holding on to the rock. So
Najee kept covering up when when there was contact. Najee kept covering up with two hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've talked about it.
You got to use Warren. You got to work him in because he's your most explosive back. But I mean, if he's dropping the ball, then you got to just roll with Naj. I mean, it is what it is. It's the playoffs. You do whatever it takes to win in the playoffs, right?
For sure.
It's attitudes, egos go out the window. Whatever it takes to win is what you have to do.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this before, and we're going to do a full slate of NFL wild card round predictions, all the games.
We got to predict all the games,
every single one, fellas. But before we get to that, and I was just kind of looking at my notes here a little bit. Is there any chance? Let's say Mason Rudolph plays well, win or lose, plays well in the playoffs.
Oh, here we go.
Is there anybody that would want Kenny Pickett if Kenny's like, fuck this, I'm not going to get a shot here anymore, I want out? I mean, what could you get for him?
Like a 5th if you're lucky because he's still on a rookie deal.
Right.
Maybe a 6th. I don't know.
I think you get more than that. I think you get a 3rd or a 4th.
Okay. Third,
Who
fourth.
would want Kenny Pickett?
I don't know.
Is there? I'm going back to this. Is there?
I'm not
anyone who would
saying that
want-
I do.
There's always a team that thinks, hey, I can strike gold with this guy.
Right.
That always exists. It never goes away. But
Look at
That-
Trent
that-
Richardson. The Browns
right.
got a first for him.
right. Yeah.
I still laugh my ass off about that. I'm sorry.
What about what?
Look at Aaron
Trent
coming
Richardson.
in hard.
What about
The
Trent Richardson?
UFL,
UFL.
the Unified Football League.
Dude,
Hey,
You know-
Mitch is getting cut, right? We can all agree
Yeah.
on this.
But yeah, that's a no-brainer. He's bye-bye. He's gone. Yep.
Mitch makes I think it's 5.2 next year, and
Right.
if
I
they
would say-
cut him.
Sorry,
If they
Ben.
cut him, they add 2.9 million to the cap, and I mean he's the de facto number 3 now, so it's done. It is what it is. He's gone. And then honestly, I immediately, as soon as I cut Mitch, I offer that money to Mason Rudolph. I'm like, hey, dude, how do you feel about $5-6 million a year?
Scarps.
Which I never would have thought I would have said at the beginning of this season. So, I mean, Scarps was right. I was wrong. And, it is what it is.
Here's and Casey's going to touch on this later. But if I'm Mason and regardless of what happens
Mm-hmm.
on Sunday, I think Mason has done enough to at least get the franchise to be like, maybe we fucked this up. But
Yeah.
if he says, if they say, Mason, we want you to come back, but you're not gonna be the starter. If I'm him, I say, nah, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like I think he's done enough to at least compete.
Right.
but-
so what
but
if they say to
Totally
him,
agree.
what if they say to him, hey, we're going to give you this money. We're going to give you incentives in your contract. And you're going to compete. You're going to be the guy who comes in, and there actually is going to be a real competition to be the starter, because when the season ended, you were QB1.
And here's so there there's a couple things that and Melvin, all of our audience, we love you. It's all in good fun. And Melvin said this earlier. It's like, it's not what I say, it's how I say it. I got to be cognizant of that. But so I'm gonna try to say this. I'm gonna try to say this in the nicest way. If let's just say Eddie Faulkner and Mike Sullivan are retained,
Oh, God, please no.
and I'm Mason, I probably say, well, shit, I'm the best person to run this shit, so I'm gonna stay. But even if they bring in a new coordinator, and it's a whole new system, and I'm Mason, and I say, well, shit, I can read defenses better than Pickett. I'm smarter than Pickett. I can learn faster than Pickett, and if I got a chance to compete, I could stay here. But then again, I also don't know the ins and outs, like what his relationships are with Tomlin, what his relationships are with personnel.
Yeah,
I don't know. He
Right.
might literally this might have been his villain origin story, right? Like, nobody believed in me. I won
Right.
3 in a row. Fuck this team. I'm gonna go somewhere else and do it. And I
there-
guarantee you, Mitch Trubisky's gonna be back at Buffalo next year.
there's
Okay, so
there's
real
that-
quickly, let me just interject again. Another fuck you, Johnny.
Okay,
And
thank
just
you.
fuck that guy. And also, let me just posit you guys another question real quickly.
Ooh,
Let's just say hypothetically,
Mhm.
Mason Rudolph does enough this week to win this game.
I think you need to wear a Mason jersey on the show.
I'm getting all of us Mason jerseys if we win a playoff game behind Mason Rudolph. You
All
heard
right,
it
that's
here
fair.
first.
That's fair.
They
Let's
might
just
be
say
from China, but you're
hypothetically.
getting them.
That's fine. That's fine. Let's just say hypothetically, Mason Rudolph does enough this week to win a game, right? Does enough, plays well enough to win a game,
Right.
win a playoff game. Steelers Nation's going fucking batshit. The Kenny cult is losing their goddamn minds.
They already are.
Well, they already are, yeah. But I mean, then they would absolutely, they'd go fucking ballistic, right?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a thing. What if Kenny Pickett demands a trade?
Well, and yes, Ben, you got right to it. That's kind of where I was going at. He's going to see the writing on the wall. But again, I go back to what Scarp said. A lot of it's going to depend on who's the offensive coordinator going forward. And I'll ask you guys this question. Ian, I'll start with you. Is there a team in the National Football League right now where Mason Rudolph could go to that team and say, hey, I can compete for your starting job right now?
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Okay. Atlanta, Minnesota, depending on what happens with Kirk Cousins.
Okay, so that's depending on.
Yes.
Okay.
New England, definitely.
Okay.
Let me think. Denver, depending on what they do with Russell Wilson, because they might not keep him around.
Ben said Tennessee if Levis doesn't pan out.
Yeah. I mean, even like Carolina with Young, New Orleans with Derek Carr. There's a handful of teams out there. Heck, I almost said the Redskins, Washington, the Commanders, whatever the hell they are. He could definitely compete there too. There's a handful of teams right now that he could definitely compete on. Heck, the Raiders, he could easily start for the Raiders.
So in other words,
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
The Raiders quarterback situation is awful.
Some of the guys in the chat are talking about Fields, and here's my take on it, and you guys can go with it or against it. But they kept their head coach. That tells me Fields isn't going anywhere. But I've been wrong before.
I don't know. They got the number one pick. I don't know that. I think when you have the number one pick, either you take the best player in the draft, who is a quarterback, or you trade it. So if they trade the number one pick for a whole bunch of first round picks,
which would be the second year in a row they traded out of the number one pick.
Right. And which I think is the right move, but that's
I don't. I think you take the quarterback here and you don't look back. And then
trade Fields.
You trade Fields away.
Okay.
Now the question is, what can you get for Fields? They're gonna want more than Fields is worth.
For sure.
I personally, I don't give more than a 3-up for Fields. That's me.
Okay.
If a team's given up on him, I mean, the hard part about that is
Jimmy Garoppolo started like half a season and got a second-round pick.
I know, but they believed that Jimmy Garoppolo was better than he actually was. I mean, who's the fuck stick from Jacksonville?
Good word.
That
Blake Bortles?
The Bills traded for. No, the Bills traded for a long time ago.
Wasn't David Garrard?
No, the guy with the fucking mullet.
Minshew.
Gardner Minshew. Yeah.
No, it wasn't Minshew. No. It was Rob.
Rob Johnson.
Rob Johnson.
Wow.
They traded.
He QB'd the Bills in the Music City Miracle.
A second and a fifth for him or something.
That sounds about right. It was a pretty penny. Yeah.
And he sucked. He was awful.
Yeah.
So yeah. And, I think that teams will pay a premium for a quarterback, and that's the hard part about that field situation if they decide to trade him, is that some team somewhere will give up too much because everybody's so goddamn desperate for quarterback talent. And I don't think the Steelers should do it.
And there's the point. Everybody's looking for the next quarterback.
I think that the Steelers should go, we'll give you a 3. And if they win, great. And if they don't, well, then they wait and they draft a quarterback later because Wilson sucks donkey balls.
Yeah,
so
I don't want anything to do with
Wilson.
Wilson.
No, I want nothing to do with him.
No.
And honestly, I think considering Ryan Poles is still the Bears general manager, I think there's a sour taste in his mouth about the Chase Claypool deal.
Agreed.
So
They won't deal with us.
even if we over offered for Fields,
forgot about that. Yeah.
I don't think they would. I don't think they would. Even if we, even where we're sitting right now, we'd probably be around like the 22nd, 23rd overall pick.
Right.
Even if we offered that for Fields, they might not take it just because they're like, we don't want to deal with Pittsburgh.
That would be stupid. I mean, honestly, if we offered a number one pick for Fields,
I would not. I personally,
that would be stupid.
Yeah. No, what the Bears should do though is, both Washington and New England, who are right behind them, need quarterbacks.
Yep.
They should call New England and be like, hey, do you want to get ahead of Washington? We'll move down 2 spots with you and take Marvin Harrison Jr. or the best offensive tackle or whoever, the best non-quarterback in the draft, but at least you'll get Caleb Williams instead of Drake May or whatever.
Sorry, this is
jump in, Scarps.
Yeah.
I keep hearing and seeing that regardless of what happens, I'm rooting for Mason, but Kenny's QB1 in 2024, and I guess I just ask, why? What has he done that makes you believe so much in this dude? He's hurt a lot. He has no pop. He doesn't even use his legs, which could actually be a weapon. And one thing, Omar Khan did not draft Kenny Pickett.
Nope, that was Kevin.
And I'm not saying Kevin did, just Kevin, but this is a whole new regime.
Yep.
I don't know if they feel the same way about Pickett as that regime did at that time. Mm-hmm. So,
Mike decides who plays. I mean,
well, okay, but still, Mike decides who plays. So he played Mitch Trubisky over Mason Rudolph, and Mike had no choice but to go to Mason Rudolph, and Mason Rudolph helped save the season.
Mistake. So, Mason made Mike look foolish there, didn't he?
And again, I said this earlier this week. Hate is a very, very strong word. I think very few people hate Kenny Pickett, just like I think very few people hate Mike Tomlin. I think that people are just disappointed in what's happened. People are disappointed that Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game in so long. People are disappointed that Kenny Pickett isn't good, or let alone as good as he was supposed to be.
I would say there's a portion that do hate Mike Tomlin though.
I understand it, and there's yes, and we could probably talk about that for a whole show, but I think fans just want to win, and they look at Kenny Pickett and they say, okay, well, this guy has been clutch in certain situations, but also he does nothing. He doesn't throw touchdowns. He doesn't scramble. He doesn't make wow throws. He doesn't do this. So that's why we're so starved for good quarterback play, and we haven't seen it here in years. And then Mason comes in, and Mason's not playing spectacular. He's not doing anything wild and crazy, but he's hanging tough in the pocket. He's making some tough throws. He's getting the ball in space. And you know what?
He's getting the ball out on time.
And also
that's the thing that's been missing. Get the ball out on time.
And he looks the fucking part. He looks the part. He looks like he's a big dude. He's hanging tough in the pocket. And nobody you notice when Mason's playing good, nobody's expecting him to be Ben. Nobody's expecting him to save the franchise. And maybe that's just because he's a third stringer. Well, but when you're a first round pick, man, the shit comes with the territory, man. You got to play, and you got to play well, and you got to pop, and he doesn't.
And to Melvin's point, when we first saw Mason Rudolph this year, he came in relief against, I think that was the Colts, wasn't it? And didn't look all that great. So I think our expectations were, well, shit, he's not going to look that great these last 3 games, and he has looked great. So, he clearly is something is clicking there for him. And
I'm not going to say he looks great, but
I use great relative to who we're talking about.
Okay, but he looks pretty good, and he looks like he doesn't have any fear of fucking up. And that's the thing that was missing in 2019. That was the conversation we had after the fact. Like Duck Hodges came in, and he's not talented, not at all. I mean, the dude went to the CFL and washed out. He wasn't good enough to play in the fucking CFL, all right?
Mm-hmm.
But he started for the Steelers for, a handful of games, and he played the way he played because he was fearless.
Right.
And Mason's taken a little bit of that on. And maybe, I don't think that guys, generally speaking, I don't think that guys learn a lot by watching, but maybe he did learn something by watching that.
We don't know what he was
unfold.
Doing. Yeah. I want to shift over
and on that. Sorry, can I just make one last point?
Yep.
I agree. Mason's playing fearless, and the play that summed it all up to me. And Kenny was playing scared, right? Kenny was bailing on clean pockets. Kenny was running himself into pressure. Kenny was not even looking at guys getting open and just checking. Kenny would just look at a guy and then check down immediately. Like that pass to Damontae. Can Kenny physically make that throw? Yes. Would Kenny make that throw?
That's the question.
I don't think so, because I think he looks at that and says he's covered. Kenny doesn't throw to a spot and let the guy, go get the ball. And that's what Mason's doing. He's the play that summed it all up for me. I think it was a third down play against the Bengals or maybe it was Seattle. I think it was Cincinnati though, where Mason scrambled and there was a guy coming at him and a guy coming across, and he was going to get lit the hell up, and he still put his head down and dove forward to try and get a first down. It was in the red zone too. I think it was against Cincinnati. Do you guys remember the play that I'm talking about where he scrambled for it was a 3rd and 5, I think.
Yes.
And scrambled for 5 yards.
4. Yeah.
Yeah. But he got the first down at the risk of getting absolutely annihilated by 2 guys coming at him.
And you could feel the team kind of elevated because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was
I thought so.
Oh, he's playing without fear. And that's kind of what you need your quarterback, right? And it's And like Ben said, he's throwing with timing and anticipation. He's throwing to spots and letting guys go get the ball. And even when he misses on the deep throws, that pushes the safeties back and makes more room for the running game to operate. So it all works hand in hand as well.
He's just getting the fucking ball out on time. And that has been the thing that has been missing all year long. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but especially with Kenny. Kenny was not getting the ball out on time. And Mark comes on this show and he says, it's like they've coached all the aggressiveness out of him. Yeah, but it wasn't really aggressive. He just wasn't getting it out on time. Just wasn't doing it. I don't know if he, my knock on Mason before was he doesn't have enough confidence in his own ability to squeeze the ball into tight windows, and now he's doing it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you can either do it or you can't, right? So you have to give the guy props for when he's actually getting it done and acknowledge it.
And to Ryan's point earlier, I think
correct.
To Ryan's point earlier, I think Mason's the only quarterback on this team that can actually read a defense. And some of that just comes with experience and being in the league, and some of that's just watching film and even sitting on the bench. You see guys who are. That's the reason why Ryan Fitzpatrick kept getting gigs in the league, because at some point you've been around so long and you've seen so much, you just know how to read a defense, and you're automatically better than a bunch of rookies that are coming in that have never seen an NFL defense before.
He's deviating from, at least he's deviating from Canada's fucking progressions, but he's deviating from the progressions. And if you can do that, Ben deviated from progressions his entire career.
Yeah.
He'd go 1, 2, 4. That 4's open, and he'd throw the ball to the 4th read. And when you can do that, when you're that guy who, yeah, they are.
Yeah, much better, Jamie. Absolutely.
When you're that guy who, I don't want to say you can see the whole field, because I think as an NFL quarterback, being able to see the whole field is bullshit. Nobody can see the whole field, but you know where your guys are, and you kind of have a sense for where the defense is going to go, so you know who's going to be open, and so you're waiting for that to happen. And if you're in the pocket for long enough and you got that clock in your head, and it's been 2.5 seconds, and you're like, yeah, he's got to be open by now. So you look for that guy and you hit him.
Regardless of what anyone thinks, this team was pissed off at Matt Canada for sure, but they were also pissed off about poor quarterback play.
Yeah, for sure.
Because within one quarter of that Bengals game at home, you could just tell something was different. Like you could, there was confidence.
Absolutely.
And then to go to Seattle, where they hadn't won in years, and they had a great running game, but Mason hung tough. He made some throws, and then to go into enemy territory against they had a couple guys on defense missing, but to do the necessary things, this team is just totally different now because they have a quarterback that's half decent, and if Kenny Pickett was half fucking decent, he would have gotten his job back, probably in Seattle.
Yeah.
Alan Saunders made an interesting point on Twitter tonight. I don't know if you guys saw it, but
we need to get Alan on the show.
We will. I have a list
only if he drinks while he's on the show.
He better. But his point was this. He said, "Look, I'm not making a prediction, but there is a sense of confidence in this locker room that I haven't felt all year." And I'm going to take that from him because Alan knows that locker room a hell of a lot better than I do. And don't all of a sudden go to DraftKings and lay your bets on the Steelers. That's not what he's saying. It's just a different feel, and he felt positive about it. So, in any case, let's talk a little NFC wild card. I'll just throw out the game. You tell me who wins or loses. Scarps, are you going to record this?
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
You don't have to. I know you like to write these things down.
I really don't want to. I'll do our game, but
okay, that's fine.
This is recorded on YouTube. We can always just go back and watch.
Touche, Ian. Correct. So first up on Sunday at 4:30 p.m., you have the Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. Ian, what is your take on this classic NFC matchup?
This is a classic NFC matchup.
For sure.
And let's not forget the fact that Matt LaFleur only won with Mike McCarthy's players. Love is playing a bit better at quarterback, but I think Dallas is just a lot better, and especially at home, their defense is really fast, and Dak's playing really well right now. So even though Dallas has been snake bit for a while in the playoffs, I'm going to go. I think Green Bay can score enough to keep it close, but I'm going to go Cowboys 31-23.
Okay.
Oh, you're even giving a score.
Oh, I thought.
We didn't have to do that. That's fine.
All right,
that's
Cowboys.
Fine.
I'll just go Cowboys win then. All right.
Okay, Ben, what do you got?
No, I want to go last.
All right, Scarps, what do you got?
Yeah, this is one of the 2 7 seeds.
Yep.
7 seeds are 0-6 all time. I got the Cowboys by 10.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
And Ben, what do you got?
Fun fact, the last 10 games the Packers have played the Cowboys, they are 9-1 versus Dallas.
Yep.
Wow.
9-1. I found that very interesting. And you also look into the fact that the Cowboys just find a way to fuck up in the playoffs. I got the Packers in this game. Might be a close one, probably will be, but I got the Packers. The first team, they're playing Saturday, right?
Sunday.
Or
Oh, okay.
Sunday.
Well, so I guess we'll be the first team to win, the first 7 seed to win a game. Maybe. Allegedly. I'm going to pick
I
against
agree.
this, though.
I do agree with Ben that it's only a matter of time before the Cowboys actually fuck it up. but I don't think it's going to be this game. I think it'll be the next game. So I will take the Cowboys in a close one because I do think Green Bay's playing pretty well, but I'll take the Cowboys.
So wait, Mark, you're gonna pick the Lions to beat the Cowboys in the divisional round?
I didn't.
They already did it once.
I didn't say that. I just said they're more likely to stumble in the next round because the next game is the Rams at the Lions.
Okay.
Ian, what do you got?
There's so many storylines. The Goff Stafford storyline, the Lions finally making the playoffs. The Lions are just going to be playing with so much emotion, and the Rams got into the playoffs. The Rams have some talented guys. The Rams are more experienced. But I think, this feels like a game where the Lions either come out with so much emotion, almost like the Browns did in 2020 against us, that like they just had so much emotion for finally making the playoffs and getting in that they just like gave it their all, and like that was their Super Bowl. And I could see this being like the Lions Super Bowl and them just like going balls to the wall. Okay. But I could also see them laying a complete dud because they don't have any like a ton of experience in these moments in the playoffs. But I'm gonna go Lion. I'm gonna pick the Lions to win, although I think it'll be close.
Damn, Ian, I might be my birthday by the time the show's over today.
All right, I'll pick the Lions. I'll pick the Lions to win a close one. You are, I know. Sober Ryan's
Jesus.
Sober Ryan is a dick.
Bring back.
You know what? Drunk Ryan's a dick too. So
yeah, they're both dicks.
I'll go Lions in a close one. I didn't know we were picking all these games. I should have thought about these things before.
Throw your team out. We don't need full analysis. Go ahead, Scarps. What do you got? Lions, Rams.
Oh, get some less.
Yeah, I think the Lions are going to be fired up. I got them by 7.
Okay. Yeah. And Ben?
I got the Rams. They're the fucking hottest team in the NFC right now. And that's a team I would not want to play.
They are playing well. Good running back, good quarterback, good receivers. The defense is but
I like the Lions, but I just think the Rams are going to find a way because they've been doing it for a little bit now, and they believe in themselves.
And don't forget, nobody knows Jared Goff better than Sean McVay does. So I think they could dial up some things there. So I'll take the Rams in a close one. And then the last NFC game of the week is actually the last one of the entire weekend. That is the Eagles at the Buccaneers. Ian, what do you got?
I ain't picking Baker Mayfield. I'm going with the Eagles.
Okay. He's got the Eagles. Scarps?
This is the upset. Bucks win.
Wow. Bucks taking over. All right. Ben, what do you got?
What the Eagles, what's their recent record here? I'm
bad.
trying to
it's really bad.
They're one out of the last 5, I think.
One of the last 5. I mean, I think the Buccaneers win this one too. I'm going all underdogs, I guess.
Okay.
It's just awful. Yeah, 1-5 to close the season out and get into the playoffs anyway.
Okay. All right. I hate the way the Eagles are playing, but I think they're just too talented for the Bucks. So I'll take the Eagles in a close one. And that takes us over to the AFC, where the very first game of the playoffs will be down in Houston. That's going to be the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. Ian, what do you got?
Houston does this weird thing where they score a bunch of points early and then forget how to play football and score late. Cleveland's defense is pretty good, and Joe Flacco is willing to throw the ball all over the yard. So I think Houston jumps out early, but Cleveland wins it in the end.
Wow. Okay. Scarps?
Yeah, I got the Browns. Their defense is really good. So I think CJ Stroud is a really good quarterback. I think he could be a star in this league, but I think this is a Jim Schwartz game, and I think that they do enough to do that. And I got the Browns by a 7 spot.
All right, Ben, what do you got?
Yeah, I got the Browns by 10. I think they may Houston may come out and make some noise, initially, and I'll be super excited, like, to be wrong about this, but I just think the Browns are too good on defense, and I think the Browns are too fucking determined this year to lose in the first round, and I just don't see it. So yeah, I got.
Yeah, I will be pulling with everything I have for the Texans, but I tend to go with what Scarp said. I think Schwartz does a really nice job. I think they'll do just enough and win that game down there in Houston.
I think they might win by 10. I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I got them in the 7 to 10 range, my book. The next game is the Dolphins at the Chiefs, and right now, guys, this is scheduled to be the coldest game ever played in the National Football League. They said the air temperature could be around -2.
Wait, colder than the Ice Bowl?
Yes, they said it could be air temperature around a -2 at kickoff, which wind chills, who the hell knows? But Ian, what do you got? Dolphins at Chiefs.
These are two teams that suck in the second half. Like, there could easily be 0 second half points scored in this game. They both just, like, the Dolphins do this thing where, for as schematically dominant as they can look, then they just, like, completely forget how to play football. And they also do this weird thing where they find one play that works and keep running that play over and over again, even when the other team figures out how to stop it. Like that pitch play to Achane, they ran it really well in the first half against the Bills, and then the Bills figured out how to stop it, but they just kept running it. And I was like, can you do something else? But no, they couldn't. So yeah, I think the Chiefs do enough to pull this one out. I think Mahomes is better than Tua at the end of the day, and I think the Chiefs defense is better than the Dolphins' very injured defense. Yeah. So I think it's a low scoring game, but I think the Chiefs pull it out.
All right. Scarps, what do you got?
Yeah, I also got the Chiefs. I think Miami's really banged up. And this is just, the Chiefs have not looked good all year, but it's still Kansas City. It's still Arrowhead. It's still Mahomes. And, this is one of those games where, like, a guy like Kadarius Toney has a fucking breakout game, even though he's been terrible all year. Like, that's just what they do. And
good point.
I think it's going to be closer I think it's going to be a lot closer. But I do think it's actually going to be low scoring. I got the Chiefs by 3.
Yeah. 3. Wow. Ben, what do you got?
I got Chiefs by 10 or 11. I don't think it's going to be close. Okay. I don't think that Miami is going to play well. It's going to be cold as fuck. It's not going to be easy to throw the ball. Shitty weather game, warm weather team. They're going to get spanked.
Yeah.
And I just think they're more talented. And on top of that, as Ian pointed out, the Dolphins defense is banged up pretty bad. Easy win for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree here. I think this is ultimately a 10, 14-point win for the Chiefs. And I would focus mostly on the fact that the Kansas City defense, I think, is just significantly better than the Dolphins defense right now. That's where I would go. The last one, of course, is the best one. Pittsburgh Steelers, Sunday, 1 p.m. in Buffalo, will take on the 2-seed Bills. If the Steelers win, they will play in Baltimore the following Sunday. If the Bills win, they would host the highest of the remaining seeds. So, Ian, what do you got?
Boy, this feels like it's either going to be like a 17-13 Steelers win or a 31-13 Steelers loss. Yeah. And it honestly might depend on how much the wind is blowing. Like, if the wind is blowing, not
the wind
at
is
all.
going to be ridiculous, dude.
It's scheduled to be a bitch.
The wind really affects the stadium in Buffalo. I mean,
it does.
Really affects it.
Yeah. This game is so hard for me to read because I feel like Buffalo is one of the hottest teams in the league right now, and they look like a team that like it's almost like a couple of those Giants teams that won Super Bowls where you were like, I don't know if they can win their first game, but if they win their first game, they might be able to go all the way. And
okay.
So I kind of feel like if the Bills get past the Steelers, I would like their chances against anyone else, against Kansas City, against Baltimore. But weird ass things can happen in the playoffs. And if Josh Allen, if it's windy and Josh Allen turns the ball over a couple times, like we might have a chance. So shit. All right. I'm gonna go against my better judgment.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna go Bills 21, Steelers 17.
Oh, okay. Scarps, what do you got?
The Bills are first in third down percentage. They convert on about 50% of their third downs. They are sixth in red zone offense, and red zone defense. They're about 19th.
Right.
They've been running the ball much better.
Uh-huh.
Only a couple weeks ago, they absolutely smashed Dallas at home,
Yeah.
and they had almost 300 rushing yards. I think the Bills are going to do what we're going to try to do to them, and I think they're going to run the ball. And I'm talking playoff Lenny, James Cook, and Latavius Murray. And who is going to stop Josh Allen from getting 5 a carry? I mean, the dude is one of the most talented people I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. He turned the ball over a lot last week and still threw for almost 400 yards, and they won by 7 on the road.
Yep. Crazy.
I kept seeing all week a lot of people, oh, this is like our 05 team. I'm going to tell you this right now. If that 05 team was going to Buffalo, I'd pick that 05 team. But this is not that 05 team. And if it's windy and Mason Rudolph can't throw the ball deep, I'm sorry, Mason, I'm a huge fan, but I just don't see this. I think Buffalo struggles with speed, which I think Warren can do because they struggled last week against a chain. I think Najee might have a good game, but I think they're going to contain him. And I got the Bills with a 26-12 victory.
Okay. Double digits.
No extra points being made, or
Ben, before I don't
know what's going to happen.
Ben, before you pick, Bozic asked, how are all your picks this year? I
clue.
I think Scarps recorded that, didn't he? And posted it to, or no, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
I didn't go back and tally those ones. I
know how my picks are, but I can't speak for everybody else. Anyway, Ben, what do you got for this weekend?
The Buffalo Bills are the number 13 rush defense in the NFL, but that statistic is deceptive because they're number 28 in yards per carry. They give up 4.65 yards per carry. That's when the conditions are good. They are going to sell out to the run. I will say that because the likelihood that either team is going to be able to throw is not great, but it's also going to be cold. And that's when nobody wants to hit the running back because it fucking hurts. So I think the Steelers have an edge when it comes to stopping the run and running the ball. The one thing this defense does pretty well, is stop the run when they're trying to actually stop it, not taking a bunch of chances, trying to create turnovers. When they actually just try and concentrate on stopping the run, they're good. So I think that gives them an edge, and that's why I'm going Bills 27, Steelers 13, like I have for the last 4 weeks. 3 weeks. This will be the 4th.
Okay. Well, everything in my my brain tells me that the Buffalo Bills will win this game going away eventually by 10, 14 points. I just have this weird feeling. There's something about Mason Rudolph, something about this team. They'll do enough, and they'll get some kind of fluke play to get out of Buffalo, and I'll take the Pittsburgh Steelers 20-17. I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm just going to go there.
I like
it.
You know why I picked 27-13 again, right?
Because it equals 40?
No, because I picked that the last 3 weeks and they've won.
Well played.
Center fucking cushion.
I want to now call on the great deceased Mr. Kazee Kasem, if he's available.
Oh, yeah. Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top 40. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was January 11, 1990. Our favorite correspondent, Ryan, is back again with us this week, and he writes, Dear Casey, Kenny, it's a crime. Share it fairly, but don't take a slice of my pie. Kenny, so they say, won't be starting in Buffalo on Sunday. Casey, that's of course Pink Floyd's Money off of their 14 times platinum album, The Dark Side of the Moon. The engineer for that album was none other than Alan Parsons, who would go on to form the Alan Parsons Project. While the Alan Parsons Project had great success on the charts, they did not, in fact, produce the Steelers' depth chart, which was a story all week because Kenny Pickett is still listed as the starter. Much like the Alan Parsons Project, Kenny Pickett had a breakdown when he found out he was no longer the starter. He asked ownership, "Are you serious? Are these the games people play?"
Oh, boy.
The eye in the sky told him to not be the backup in Seattle, and then Pickett told Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin that if Mason was listed as the starter on the depth chart, Kenny was going to take his tiny ball with his tiny hands and go home. Kenny, I don't know how they do things in Jersey, but I wouldn't want to be like you.
Oh.
Casey, on to Buffalo. We have a game this Sunday. That's right. Casey, I'm more nervous than a former U.S. president waiting for the next Epstein files to drop. I'm sweaty like a prostitute in church. I'm wound up like a $3 watch. But I don't know why, Casey. The Steelers are playing with house money. Nobody is giving them a shot. Mason is playing his best football of his career and is doing things we haven't seen in years. Things only Big Ben has done. But hey, Kenny did the same things. That's right, Picketologist, I'm talking to you. But it's not about you this week, Picketologist. It's about Mason Rudolph. Another chance to write a great story. I know the real fans are rooting for him. However, I know many are just waiting for him to fail. And if the Steelers don't pull this one out, he'll definitely be the scapegoat. Mason's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Well, Ryan, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Down 4 spots this week to number 27. Here's the Rolling Stones off their album Steel Wheels. Here's Rock and a Hard Place.
You know, it's just a shame that Mason didn't want Ben's help anymore in 2019. Right?
Oh, you know, that's so true.
You know,
it's such a shame.
Yeah.
Did you see earlier this week when Mason said like all the people that reached out to him, like Foster, Pouncey, Villanueva, all these guys? Yeah, didn't hear 7 on that list.
No, it didn't.
No.
Weird.
That's weird.
You know, the sad part about that is, you know, if Ben was upset about it, you know, be upset with those that drafted him. Don't be upset at him.
Be upset at Kevin.
Right. You know,
Kevin's the guy who said we had a first round grade in this guy, so we couldn't like pass him up. We had to draft him. Right. I mean, whatever. I didn't agree with the pick either, but you know, well, whatever. Jamie.
Meanwhile, they should have. Go ahead.
The thing, Jamie, that Scarps did not reel off was Pickett sexuals. Kenny sexuals.
I like Kenny sexuals.
Kenny sexuals. That's my favorite one off Twitter.
I keep Pickett's. I like
Picketologist is good.
Picketologist is a really good one because he's going after the Scientologist. But you know, whatever. You know,
it's weird that they had a first round grade on Mason and they drafted him in the 3rd round, and then they drafted Pickett in the 1st round and they had an undrafted rookie free agent grade on him. It's wild. It's wild how that happens.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. As Ian just pointed to me in the private chat, we've gone almost 2 hours, which is absolutely ridiculous.
No, that's only 75
even
minutes.
more ridiculous is the fact that you guys have stuck with us the whole time. We love you. You're awesome. We absolutely.
You guys in the
105
chat. Yeah, you guys in the
are,
chat sticking with us for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Is
we
incredible.
are thoroughly impressed. at
it's
how
all
long you
love,
guys.
stick with us. You're
All
awesome.
love for
Make
the
sure you
chat.
check out the site, steelcityblitz.com. And of course, on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and whatever the hell it's called now.
Ben, stop. Let's go figure it out.
Yeah, for these guys, this is Steel Dad
That's
signing
fucking
off
funny.
on the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated. And hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.
Well, they did last week.
We swept them.